In this video, we are going to deep dive into the request module of Python. We are going to see how this module is practically used to create complex requests, how you can retrieve and pass data from different web applications and process it right into your Python program. This video is going to talk all about these things. Let's move on to a computer screen and let's get started. Now, the very first step that you must follow in order to use request module is installation of Python. But I know that you will have Python installed if you are watching this video. So I'll go ahead and install the request module. So all you need to do is type pip3 install requests. Okay, now a lot of people will face some issues if they are on Windows if they type pip install request. So I always recommend use pip3 because pip3 will directly install it. I already have this module installed, which is why it is showing me requirement already satisfied. I'll fire my PyCharm CE, which is an IDE. It's one of the best IDEs for Python, and I'm going to create a new project, and let me name this project as requests module, and I'm going to use Python 3.11 previously configured interpreter. You can simply go for system interpreter and click on create. Once you click on create, you will see this screen. PyCharm will give you the starter code. I, however, don't need the starter code. So why should we use request module at the first place? If you are trying to automate something, if you are trying to do something with Python which involves network requests, you can always do the same using request module in Python. Or let us say you want to scrape some data and you want all that data to be written to a CSV file or maybe to a database. You can always do that by using request module. The very simple usage of request module is you import request module and simply do request.get. Before I get further in this video, I want to let you know that I have teamed up with IP Royal to bring you a very special coupon code of 30% off their Royal residential proxies. Make sure to try them out before the offer expires. Now, there are countless of reasons why a business must be interested in doing some data scraping. One of the very common use cases is bringing all the data from different places to one place and doing analysis on top of that data. Efficient and accurate web scraping is not possible without the help of good residential proxies. Picking the right proxy solution will help you get the data from the right sources in right amount of time, which can further help your business. IPRoll provides a constant stream of fresh IPs for all sorts of web crawling projects. Being able to routinely replace your IP addresses with new one anywhere in the world makes your data gathering efforts indistinguishable from genuine visitors. IPRoll has a massive pool of residential IPs which you can always use to do web scraping and speed up your data collection. The best part about IPRoll is that their support is available 24/7, which is a plus. So you can use the code Harry during checkout and you will get 30% discount on IPRoll. Make sure to check it out. Now, in order to get started with request module, we'll make a very simple get request to google.com. If you go to google.com, this is what you see, but this is not exactly what browser retrieves. If you go to view page source, you'll see this. This is the source code of this page. If I come back to my PyCharm IDE, I can always do requests.get and I can give this URL, which is google.com, and then I can print r.text. Now what is r? R is what is returned by request.get. If you print r.text, you can run this and you will get the source code of this page. This was the very basic web scraping which you can possibly do. Now let me come back to my Google Chrome and show you some more use cases. So if I Google search requests, you can go to request documentation, HTTP for humans. This is how requests documentation looks like. So let us say I have this r is equal to request.get and I want to authenticate with GitHub API, or let me show you another API, JSON placeholder. Now this is a sample API which we can use to test our get request. Let me copy this URL. This is simply sending a get request to the server. If I do the same thing with, I'll right click and click on soft wrap so that I don't see the horizontal scroll bar. As you can see, this returns this, which means that this data is being returned from the server. Now, what is the type of this data? Let us check. And the type of data, let me tell you, is going to be a string, which means that you will have to parse it as JSON if you want to use it as JSON or Python dictionary. Okay. Alright, so far so good. Let us now try to explore more about request module. If you come to the request modules documentation, the best page about request module is the quick start. This is the quick start page which we want to explore, and we'll be exploring the topics one by one from this quick start page. If you scroll down, you'll see everything is written on this quick start page for you to get started with request module. For example, I can make this basic request. Let me copy this and let me paste it here. And if I do this and if I print r.text, you'll see that, oops, I'm actually printing the type of this. I want to get the data. This is what I get. Now, if I control click, which means if I try to see the data on my browser, I'll see this. This is what it returns. Okay, so this is the quick start page which I recommend you have a look at and understand how request module works. Should you have any doubt, you can always come back to this page, and this page will most probably have answer to your question. Now, if you want to add some request parameters to your get request, for example, let us say I want to visit this URL but programmatically. Let me show you something. If I copy paste this, this is what it returns. Now, http://bin.org is a very interesting website. Let me tell you, what it returns is your request as it is, which means that you can test your request. It can be a post request, it can be a put request. As you can see, here is the documentation of this http://bin.org. You can always test different methods. You can go to http://bin.org/delete/get/patch/post/put. All these are different type of requests. Delete is used to delete something, get is used to fetch some data, patch is used to send patches, post is used to send post parameters. If you have a lot of data, you want to post something, then put is used to create something on the server. You can always use all these methods. In this case, we used /get and we pass this key is equal to value. I can always pass more parameters by saying Harry is equal to good, and as you can see, key val is there in args. If I visit this URL, Harry good is also there in args, which means that whenever I'm adding query parameters to my get request, they'll be visible here. Let's try this using Python. Okay. Now, one argument that you might have is, why can't we do something like this? Like simply send this request and paste the, oops, I clicked the wrong button. I meant to click the run button. Okay. As you can see that Harry good and key val is there. But what if these parameters are dynamic? You can always use f strings, but there is another way to do this. You can say r is equal to request.get, and then you can add this payload. Let me add this payload and I'll say params is equal to payload. So let's add this payload, comma params is equal to payload. Now, if I run this program, you'll see that value 1 and value 2, all these payload parameters are present in the response. Okay, so this is how you can send get request with parameters using request module. Now let's try to send a post request with some data. Okay, so instead of saying request.get, we'll do request.post, and let me tell you how to send the data. You can always say data is equal to your data, and your data will be posted to the server. You must be thinking that why am I sending the request to the same website, http://bin.org. http://bin.org/post is simply simulating an endpoint which accepts post request. Okay, params is equal to payload. I'll say data is equal to payload this time. Okay, but let me do something so that we also preserve the code, because I have to give you the code by the end of this video. Okay, but you can always take the code from the quick start guide, so that should not be a problem. Okay, r is equal to request.post, http://bin.org/post, data is equal to payload. Let's see what r.text returns. r.text will return this form, and this will tell me that, hey, you have actually given me a post request. The type of this request is post, and this is the data that I received. Okay, you can always use an actual server here. Let me tell you once again, and you can use data is equal to your payload, whatever you want to send to the server, and that should be able to post your data to that server endpoint. Okay, so this is how you send a post request. You can always add more parameters to this payload, and you can always generate these payloads dynamically. Now let's see how we can use other type of requests. So there are a lot of different type of requests, like a get request is one, post request is one, put request is one, delete request is one, head request is one. So all these requests have different use cases. You can always do request.put, delete, head options, and you should be able to get the required data. Let me do one thing. Let me copy all this code, and if I paste it here, I'll show you all these one by one. Let me comment all these first. Let me show you the put request. If I run this, you'll see that this is actually going through and args this, data this, files this, the put request is going through, and you can try a bunch of other request types. That should work. Okay. Another important use cases of request module is downloading files. It's very easy to download files using request. Let me show you how. So if I press enter, let me create a new Python file because this one is getting very bloated. So let me say rfiles.py and let's print this. Now for this, you'll have to install pillow module. I'll come to terminal, pip3 install pillow, which is a module, and this will install pillow module. Awesome. So this is installing pillow module. Okay, nice. Now we can download an image. I'll show you how to download image. So if you want to download an image, you can say import request first, and let me move this towards the top, and r is equal to request.get the URL to the image. Let's see if we can find an image from the internet. Oops, image. Yes, I want this image. Open link, open image in new tab. I'll copy the link to this image. Okay, images.unsplash.com. Let's see if I can get the data, and let's run this program. So the moment I run this program, I'll have to actually right click and run this program because I'm on PyCharm. So the moment I run this program, I can open an image. Now to save this image, I'll say fp is equal to open, and let us say image.jpg, and let's write it as bytes. And now I can say i.save fp, and this should be able to save this file. So as you can see, image.jpg is saved here. So I can use request module to download images from the internet. Okay, so this is how you can download images from the internet. You can also download files in a very similar manner, and any file type will work if you want to download it. Another interesting use case is to stream the files. What does streaming means? Let us say we have a large file and we want to download it part by part. How do we do that? Let me take you to JetBrains PyCharm website. PyCharm, let me download PyCharm. Oops, I wanted to download PyCharm. Okay, let me copy the link to this download, or let me simply click here and this should generate a page which will allow me to download it. Let me copy this link, copy link address. I'll cancel this download. I already have PyCharm. Let's try to stream the file. Let me create a new file called stream eam file.py. This will simply create a file, and I should be able to, let me soft wrap it just so that I can show you what I'm typing. Import requests. So in order to stream, all you need to do is say r is equal to request.get, say URL, and then stream is equal to true. Now you are streaming the file instead of actually downloading it. If you come back to the documentation of request, you'll see that you can say r is equal to request.get, stream is equal to true, and you can start reading the content of that URL. Okay. Now in order to download it part by part, you can also specify a chunk size, which is in bytes. And in this case, you can see that the chunk size is 128 byte. You can always change it to your liking. And I'm going to say pycharm.dmg as the file name, and I'm writing the content as binary, and the chunk size is 128. Okay. Now let me do one thing. I'll say print I, let me say I am downloading part number. Let me write an f string here. I'll say I, okay. I is equal to 0, and we are going to enumerate, we are going to say I is equal to I plus 1, and I know that I have to put this inside the loop. Okay, right after fd dot write. Alright, this should work. So we are opening a file called pycharm.dmg. We are writing it and we are specifying a chunk size of 128. Let's run it. So as you can see that it is actually downloading it part by part, part by part, part by part. And definitely this print statement will take a lot of time, but let me comment this so that this can happen peacefully. But let me cancel it because this is a very huge file, I guess, and it will take a lot of time for it to download it. Let me delete this file first of all, and delete anyway. I want to delete it, and let me run this program, and I'll wait for this file to, or rather this program to fully execute, and then I'll be back. Alright, so I just downloaded this file, and as you can see that pycharm.dmg is here. Let's try to execute it and let's see if we can actually execute it. Let me right click here. Now I can right click this file, open in Finder. Okay. And I can double click this file, and as you can see that this is downloaded successfully. Now another question that a lot of you might have is, how do I exactly know the size, the total size of this file? You can always print r.headers. Let me do print r.headers, and let's not download the content. Let's just do r.headers and let's comment this out and let's see how it goes. So if I say r.header, you can see that we have this content length header. I can say r.headers content length, and this should give me the length of this file. Okay, so now I'm going to create a downloader which will tell me what % of this file is actually downloaded. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so let me create a variable called total, and total is going to be the total bytes. And now what I'll do is I'll say total is equal to total plus length of what? Length of chunk. And let me place this line here. Okay, so this will add it to the total, and after every iteration I will print an f string, and I'll say total out of or rather let me say total expected is equal to this. This is the expected total amount of bytes that we are expecting to receive, and this is the total amount of bytes actually received, and this much out of this much received. Or rather we can even say this much divided by total expected multiplied by 100 multiplied by this divided by this % of total expected divided by 1000, which will create it to okay, so 1 byte megabytes. Okay, so MB received. All right, fingers crossed. Okay, so it says that total expected unsupported operands for int and string. So what is int and what is string? Okay, so this is a string. That's interesting. We'll have to convert it to an integer. Okay, so let's run it, and it says 1% received, 2% received, 4% received, 5% received. I'll have to round it actually. It's not looking very good, but yeah, we just made a downloader which actually keeps track of the progs. Amazing, man, amazing. Let me cancel this and I'll show you something. There is a package called tqdm in Python. Very interesting. tqdm. And tqdm is, I hope I've spelled it correct. I used it long back actually. So all you need to do is pip install tqdm. Oops, pip3 installed tqdm. Oops. I'll say Windows A and pip3 and tqdm. This should install it. Oops, I already have tqdm. Wow, amazing, man. From tqdm import tqdm, and all I need to do is do tqdm of whatever I want. Okay, let's try this. This is actually amazing, and I'll show you what it does. Just wait for a bit. For chunk in tqdm r.iter. This, and let's not print anything and see the magic. So you can see that it is showing me how many iterations have finished and how much time it is expecting, or rather how much time has passed since it started running. Alright, so honestly speaking, I was facing some issues with TQDM, but this Stack Overflow answer saved me. Okay, so I'll not discuss a lot about this. I'll simply link this Stack Overflow answer somewhere here, and this should help you. Okay, so what I did was I said with TQDM total is equal to total expected divided by 128. Why did I do this? Because this is the number of times my for loop is going to run as p bar, and then I'm doing p bar dot update. Let me see what happens if I don't do p bar dot update. If I do this, this will show up like this, but I don't want it to show up like this. I want it to show up like this. Okay, and this looks pretty good. As you can see that it is showing me the percentage: 7% downloaded, 8% downloaded, 9% downloaded. Amazing. So this is how you can actually create a downloader which shows you progress in Python. Okay, amazing. This is pretty interesting. Now I'll stop this, and I hope that you understood how to create a downloader using Python requests. Now let's see how we can use proxies with requests. So I'm going to create a new file called proxy. Let me create a new file called proxy test. Always make sure that the file you are creating is not the name of any built-in module or any kind of module, because that might hamper the way your Python script is running, and we don't want it. Let me import request, or rather let me come back to this website and let me go to the request documentations once again, and let's see how we can use proxy with request. So I'm going to search for proxy. Let me see how. Okay, so we have proxy support. Okay, let me Google search it, requests proxy, and I got some Stack Overflow answers. And yes, this is how you use proxy with request. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. I think this should be there in documentation as well. I'm not sure where it is, but again, we just found it and I'm glad I found it. Okay, so I'm going to import requests, HTTP proxy, HTTPS proxy, and I'm going to use these both proxies, and let me hard code them. Let me remove this, and I'm going to hard code them. Okay, this is going to be my HTTP proxy, and this is going to be my HTTPS proxies. I'm going to replace it with my actual proxy, and I'm not going to use any header. And let me Google search some way to find my IP address. IP address API. Yes, IP address API. I want to see what my IP address is. Okay, so they have some plans, api.ipi.org. Okay, and ipapi.com. Let me see how this looks. ipapi.com/json/query. So if you give IP address to them, they are going to send back you these details. I want to visit this. Okay, this is free, which is amazing. So let's see how we can directly get the IP address. ipi64.ipi5.com will give me an IP address. Let me send the request here, and let's print r.text. Now, where do we get the proxy from? I'm going to use IP Royal. So let me open IP Royal, and let me open IP Royal, and let me log into my IP Royal account. So I just logged into my IP Royal account. I'll come to dashboard, and let's see where we can use the proxies. I'll come to Royal Residential Proxy. I have 4.98 GBs in my account. So I'm going to simply copy one of the proxies, and I'll copy this, and I'm going to paste it here. Okay, let me use this command first, because I want to see what this command will return. Enter, and yes, it is returning me something. Let me make it a little bit bigger and show it to you. You can see that the state is California and country is US. Amazing. Everything is good. So let me do one thing. Let me find a format which will work with Python. Username : password @ hostname : port works with Python. So I'm going to copy this. Let me copy, and also I'm going to paste it here. like this, http :/ and I'm going to try it. I'm going to click right click and run, and it says host API 64.ipi5.org. This is not working. Let me see what's wrong. Let me also specify HTTPS proxy because HTTPS proxy was wrong. Let me now run this program. And again, I see an error. One thing that I got to know about IP Royal was that they use their proxy on HTTP, which means that HTTPS proxy will also be HTTP. And if I run this program now, this should return me the IP. Okay, so this is returning me. This should return me the IP. Alright, so it gave me this IP address. Let me see what this IP address is about. You can also use this in Python by sending a request. But again, I'm going to test it right inside my browser. Okay, so it says fail SSL unavailable for the endpoint members.ipapi.com. Okay, so let me check it somewhere else. Check IP. I think we'll have to get some API key from here, to check other IPs. But again, let me simply look up this IP address here, get IP details. Yes, so this is an IP from France, city Paris, state ILE France. All right, so IP is working. Proxy is working. Okay, so this is how you use proxy in Python. Now I'll tell you about how you can do web scraping and take your request knowledge further. I'm going to show you that now. In order to scrape a website, you will have to first get the HTML code of that website, and that will be done using request module, just like we saw. Now let me go to BS4 module, and this will give me Beautiful Soup's documentation. Now what is Beautiful Soup? Let me tell you. If you type pip pip3 install BS4, this will install a module called Beautiful Soup. Now Beautiful Soup is a web scraping module. It is used for web scraping. I'll show you how. Let us say I want to scrape a website, and let's say this is the website that I want to scrape, iproyal.com. iproyal.com. Let's say I want to scrape this website, iproyal.com. Okay, 100% transparent proxy service. Let's copy this first, and I'm going to use the same page because I want to use random IP address to scrape this web page. Okay, let me replace this with, or rather let me not replace it, but let me create a copy of this and comment the previous request.get call https iproyal.com r.text. Let me write it to an HTML file. Okay, so I'll say with open and index.html. I'm going to write it, and I'll say as f and f.write r.text. Okay, let's run it. Alright, so I just copied and pasted this, and as you can see, I just got a file here called index.html. So I just entered a URL called https://codewithhari.com, and I'm using these proxies. Let me run this, and as you can see, index.html file is created here, and I expect the content of codewithhari.com to be there on this website. Let us say I want to get this particular text. I'll right click, I'll click on inspect, and as you can see that this is a paragraph. And which class is this? Let me find a class. This is the class MT2. And what else is there to uniquely target it? I'm going to copy, and I'll copy full XPath of this element. Okay, now as you can see, index.html has the website content. Now in order to scrape data from BS4 module, what we do is we say from BS4 import Beautiful Soup, and we create a soup. Now soup means soup of a web page. So Beautiful Soup works on the concept of soup. Soup means that you have a web page and you are converting it to a Beautiful Soup object. So I'll say soup is equal to Beautiful Soup, and I'm going to say r.text, and I'm going to say html.parser. Okay, and let me find out all the links. I'll say for a, or rather for link in a soup.find all, and I'm going to find all A, and I'm going to print link. Okay, now why did we do this? Why did we write it to a file? Because at times when I'm doing web scraping, what I do is I write all the content, I scrape all the content first, write all the content to the files, and then I go ahead with the actual web scraping. Because once I have the content, I can do anything with that content. I need the proxy just to get all the content. So as you can see that we have this, all the links of the page, and we can also print link.href because we might at times be interested in just the link. Okay, so you can see that it is getting, oops, it says link.href is none. So I'll say find attribute, or rather link.get attribute. Yeah, this should do. Link.get attribute and href. Not sure if this is going to work, but let's see. I'm going to search for it. There's no shame in searching for something. How to get attribute in BS4, and as you can see that somebody has said you can use .get method. .get. Okay, let me use .get. Let's wait for this to finish first. Okay, so this did not work. Let's see if link.get works or not. I'm waiting for it. Let's see what happens. Alright, so as you can see that I got all the links from codewithharry.com. So this is how you can scrape specific content from a particular website. In this case, I scraped all the links from beautifulsoup.com, sorry, codewithharry.com using Beautiful Soup. Now we'll go to Beautiful Soup's documentation and we'll see how you can learn Beautiful Soup. BS4 docs. And BS4 docs are very nice. You can go to the Beautiful Soup documentation and you will find how you can use Beautiful Soup to get the page title, to get a particular tag. Just like we scraped all the links from the page, you can always scrape specific part or parts of a web page. Okay, so you can definitely explore Beautiful Soup, and let me know if you want a dedicated tutorial on Beautiful Soup. I'll create that as well. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, let me know in the comments, and if you want the Beautiful Soup tutorial, let me know that as well. Now before I wrap up the video, I would like to show you how you can apply the coupon code to get the discount. So I've entered my credentials, I'll solve the captcha, and I'll log into my account. The next thing you want to do is click on Royal Residential Proxies and simply click on create new order. And if you apply the coupon code Harry and click on apply, you are going to get flat 30% discount. As you can see, the message coupon was applied has been flashed on the screen, giving you a total of 30% discount. So go ahead, and if you want to purchase the proxy, make sure to use the coupon code Harry. So I hope you understood how request module can be used to get the data, make a post request or different type of request, and how you can do streaming of files using request in Python. Also, we saw how you can perform web scraping using Python and request using Beautiful Soup. So that was all about this video. Thank you so much guys for watching this video, and I will see you next time.